In this video, I am going to show you how to do the steps that are unique for a supervisory visit. Supervisory visits include initial evaluations, progress reports, recertifications of the plan of care, and discharge summaries. So I have already scheduled and arrived my patient, loaded a chart template for initial evaluation, and completed most of my content. I know I am looking at the initial evaluation because the note is highlighted here on the left in an orange box. So the first thing we need to do is create goals for our patients. You can add goals as you are completing the documentation for a patient. And to make any item within the chart a goal, you simply right click, or click and hold, depending on your device, on the line item name. So here it is verbal pain rating at present. And I'm going to right click and select make this a goal. And when I do that, a goal worksheet comes up and it carries forward the information that you entered into the chart. So the current level is a 6 out of 10 pain, and my desired goal is going to be a 2 out of 10. Then I need to enter in the goal due date. And I'm going to make the goal due date the end of my certification period, so 1/10/2019, and then I will click apply. Once I create an item as a goal, this green star comes to the left, and this will carry forward from note to note, and it will tell me both what the goal outcome is, my desired goal state, and then also the goal due date. And I will repeat this process for each item that I wish to make a goal for my patient. So if cervical spine range of motion is limited, I can right click or click and hold on cervical spine range of motion, choose to make this a goal, gives me a current, a desired goal, goal due date will carry forward, and click apply. And that is how you add the goals to the patient record. You will update those goals during your progress reports simply by clicking on the line item and then entering in the goal progress at each visit. Once you've created the goals for the patient, the next thing you're going to want to do is add information into the case box or the client editor for each case for the patient. To access the information, you will go to the case name and click on it once. Oops, and definitely save your work. And you have a few things that you have to enter in when you first do an initial evaluation for the patient. They are the date of onset, signature date, and admit date. So the date of onset is the date that the condition started or declined. It must, by regulatory requirements, be a recent date to warrant a significant change in functional status for which therapy is indicated. For my patient had a fall on 10/1/2019, and I'm going to use that as the date of onset. The signature date is the date the intake paperwork was completed for a patient. If you completed the intake paperwork, enter in the date that you did the intake paperwork, which is typically the date of the evaluation, which I did, and so I'm going to enter in my eval date, which is 12/31. If you did not do the intake, you can leave this blank and the office staff will enter in the date once we have verified that the intake was completed. And then the last thing right here in this section is the admit date, which is also the date of the evaluation. The next thing you're going to want to do is add a diagnosis to the case. The diagnoses that are here should match what you have entered into the evaluation. And so to add a diagnosis, you simply click the plus sign, and you can enter it in by code or you can search by description. So my patient has Parkinson's disease, so I'm going to start typing Parkinson, and it comes up with a list of where Parkinson is included in the name. My patient has G20, Parkinson's disease. I'm going to click apply, and I'll repeat that process for each diagnosis that I want to add to the patient's record. Then the last thing you're going to want to do is add a plan of care and progress report. You add both at the initial evaluation. The plan of care sets the certification period. Progress report sets the number of visits that are allowed before a supervisory visit is needed. So you click the plus sign, and you're going to add a plan of care. And the plan of care effective date is the date of your eval. So I'm going back to 12/31. And it will default to the allowable certification period by the insurance carrier. You can leave approval date blank. This is when we receive the signed plan of care back from the physician. Second item is the progress report. It again defaults to the allowable visits based on the insurance carrier, which in this case is 10. And I'm going to change the date back to my eval date. And then I will click this floppy disk, which also is the save icon to save the changes that I made. When you see a patient for a supervisory visit for a progress report, you'll go back to this section and add a progress report so that its system resets the count for an additional 10 visits until the next visit is due. If you recertify a patient's plan of care, you'll add both a plan of care and a progress report to the case so that we can extend the cert period for a patient. The only other thing that you have to do is when you are discharging a patient, you will come back to this and change the case status from active to either on hold if you're just putting the patient on hold or discharged, enter in the discharge date and enter in the discharge reason. And you'll see the options on a list. So get your closest match, save those changes, and you have done all of the additional steps that are needed for a supervisory visit.